Well, it was our lake almost flooded over. We had tornadoes go through. We the whole 85% of the Titus County was without power. The local junior college, which is literally right next to the ranch here, knocked off everything. They had no communication and shut down school. So it was a doozy. It was a doozy of a storm.
Well, I'm glad you guys are okay. I knew you guys would be because God is your protector. So we were talking to one of our team members. She actually lives in Myrtle Beach, North Carolina, and everybody's been hearing about the wildfires that are in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, but there is fires in North and South Carolina. One of the things she said as of just on Monday, she said, Julie, I said, how close is it? And she's, of course, it's been, it's like almost fog. It's so strong. It's so bad near their home. But she goes, as far as I know, not one home has been touched by those fires. And that's something to me, and I don't know if it's changed in the last 2 days, but that happened on Monday when we were on our prayer for people call. And I was just so taken it back going, God, how awesome are you? Because there's so many different fires. And as at that point, there hadn't been any structural damage to any homes, any vehicles, and not one person has been injured by them. And I'm like, and having that many go on, that's God's protection. Yep. And that's why God says, land of Goshen, he's been reminding us of that. Because no matter what the enemies are doing, and no matter what the enemy is trying to do into our country and with weather and everything else, and with wildfires, they're setting, God is our protector.
He is our protector, and we're going to need to go into that Goshen. He keeps reminding me of Goshen, as you said that as well. Mm-hmm. We're going to get this next 6 months. We had the generals back on yesterday. We had some economic people that really understand the economy. This next 6 months with tariffs and all the things that transition from Biden to President Trump, getting the wheels right, and Ukraine and Hamas and Iran. It's going to be very difficult, but God has it. He'll guide us through it. And like President Trump said last night in his message, 6 months from now, we're going to be in a much better place.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I'm going to agree with you, because prophetically, God has given me some intel. So I don't know what the generals told you yesterday, but God has been telling me, of course, the last several years that he's bringing down this system, this financial system. And one of the things that he even went more detailed into this is that this system is also connected to child sex trafficking. Yeah. So he's bringing down the banks because the banks are also connected to it all. So it's going to look worse before it gets better. God has been warning us of this. And he gave me very detailed prophecies regarding how all this stuff is connected and how not just one part of the system is good enough to bring down. You have to bring it all down. You have to do a course correction. And a course correction, again, people just thought it was just the election. It's not just the election, because there's still an establishment and deep state swamp, whatever you want to call them, and they're still controlling the financial system. Mm-hmm. They're still wreaking havoc everywhere. They literally have been children and women enslaved in this, one of the biggest bondage and slavery there ever has been, is by child sex trafficking. And that's under the radar. A lot of people don't know about it. I'm going to talk to you about ports today and how important those ports are because of the cargo ships and what's on the cargo ships. We know that's how they transport children and why China has a lot of control of the ports. Now, all of a sudden, you see with Panama, BlackRock is taking control of it, which is not any better. So, again, they're trying to protect something that they use to funnel money, to funnel drugs, and, of course, to funnel children. So this is going to be a wild ride. God said he talked about a calm before the storm. But the good news is we're in this world, but we're not of it. So no matter how the system comes down and how this all plays out, God is going to protect us. And when the financial system happens, just watch to see what happens to Wall Street. God keeps mentioning Manhattan. He keeps mentioning New York. He keeps mentioning Wall Street. He keeps mentioning big banks. It's going to be crazy to see what he's going to do, but he's going to bring it all down.
Oh, they're in panic. They're in absolute freak out panic. I've said this on Wednesdays with you before. I had the opportunity to go behind the scenes to see what President Trump's working on with crypto, silver and gold. It's coming faster than I ever thought it would. I thought maybe we'd be in the fall for these things to happen, but they're happening. He's going to have a major summit on Friday about crypto, and they're all and so the whole point about this is with crypto technology and blockchain backed by physical silver and gold is the death blow to the banks, and the banks are frantic because they have all this real estate. They have these old systems in place. They can't keep up. They have all these salaries to keep in place, and crypto can do it much faster, much quicker, and more secure. And they're trying to jump onto crypto and be a part of this, but it's going to be too late. There is a crash coming, and we're not trying to get people to fear. God has to take out this beast system and bring in His system. And so I would just say, everybody watch this. Be prepared. Protect your assets. Make sure that they're protected by what the Lord guides you to do.
Yeah, because one of the things I've been telling people is Epstein was just he was a minion. He was just a little puppet. And they try to use his fall as a distraction to keep it from the bigger thing that was really going on, that the establishment, the globalists, and the big banks and Wall Street have been a part of. And so if we realize how deep and dark and bad this is, people will want this to fall. Yeah. Just like Egypt. Egypt had to fall in every way. It couldn't just fall partially because they could regain their steam again and come back after the Israelites. God literally just gutted them. If it was their power, if it was their empire, if obviously some of their lives of all the military and the Pharaoh, which is the leader of that nation. So he had to take all of them away because if that judgment did not come the way that it came, they would have came back after the Israelites. That's the reason why this has to. And God was showing me this morning when I was getting prepared for the prophecy that I will actually give out to you because it's a huge one, which goes along with a lot of things that are in the news right now. But one of the things he was saying is, I destroyed the enemies of my people in front of them. He made sure that the enemies knew it, and he made sure his people knew it, that he was the one true God. He's the same God today. He has never changed. He is what he said, he's reeling in the big fish.
Yeah.
And it may take a little bit more time. And I know some people are getting impatient, but in the prophecy this morning he gave, he said, I'm reeling in the big fish. What you've seen is something where you've seen the what's in the spotlight. You're not seeing what's going on behind the scenes. You're not seeing what's going on in the dark or underground. So he's bringing those people in, and he's causing a panic. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, yeah. So everybody looks at what the Supreme Court ruled today and said they unfroze the $1.9 billion. And people are losing their minds thinking this is bad. This is actually a good thing, because what they're going to do is exactly what the Lord told you. They're going to start peeling this back on who's getting this money. And these politicians are freaking out. We just had this week, it was brought, and none of the mainstream media is even running with this. Barack Obama was getting a royalty from Obamacare since 2010, and that's why he got tens of millions of dollars. He was getting paid every single month from us, the taxpayer, over Obamacare under royalties. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming. They're going to reveal it all. And we were talking with the generals yesterday and made this point clear. Remember, what Elon Musk and Doge have done is shown only money going out. They haven't shown the other side of this yet, and that's next. Where's it going to? Who's collecting it? And follow the money trail. And just one of the congressmen this morning said, we got them. We know the money trail of Ukraine, and it's going to go back to them. And there's no doubt about it. Everything goes back to Ukraine.
I have so many prophecies on this. I'm trying to figure out which one to give you first because what you just said, I have just so much in front of me right now. But one of the things I want to say about the Supreme Court. Now, you know that God has given a lot of prophecies on the Supreme Court and what they're doing, and he's going to get rid of the ones who don't belong there. This is from February 22nd. And it says, a great shaking is about to begin. It will even hit the highest court in the land. To everyone in the Supreme Court, judgment and justice are coming. This country and the world will soon know who are not true Supreme Court justices. The president who appointed you was not legitimate, so that makes you illegitimate as well. I will show you why you were picked and what the establishment holds over your heads to get you, to do their bidding. in every case that would have threatened them or their agenda. All the blackmail, bribes, payoffs you receive from taxpayer money to rule in cases to keep the establishment safe will come out. Every ruling will be undone by me, says the Lord. So unpacked so much of it. First of all, there's illegitimate justices on the highest court in the land. Two, he's also going to show all these court cases are ruling on, while they're ruling on them, and how the government owns them. Whether they have forced them into blackmail or where they're seriously evil and they've committed all these crimes that the establishment knows because they're in cahoots with them and they have their number. So God is saying, I am going to make sure that all this explodes and all these Supreme Court justices that do not belong will be removed. And I believe this is one of the cases, along with the election and election fraud, is some of the cases that they have ruled wrongly on that God is going to judge them for. That's going to come out because God, you know, and I know God's going to undo 2020 election and so many other elections. But again, the payoffs, the bribes, and the blackmail, and some of the taxpayer money that they have received. So I have a feeling that goes along with some of this aid that's not going to the right places. So that was just given out.
That's why that's why all the pardons went back to 2014. 2014, Dr. Fauci, Hunter, because that was the day that we overthrew, our three-letter organization overthrew the Ukrainian government. And that's when the money laundering, trafficking, human trafficking, that pennies on the dollar, the Ukraine is selling our weaponry to Hamas and to also the cartel that are used on our southern border. But what you just mentioned, that's three of the 17 scandals that the Lord just told you that he gave to me that are in play with the justices. Spygate, FISA, and Unmasked. That's going to be the unmasking of Chief Justice Roberts. Project Hammer, that's John Brennan, who blackmailed Chief Justice Roberts. Amy Coney Barrett and Chief Justice Roberts have some explaining to do at the least. And you tie that into our friend General Flynn, what he's done this last week. General Flynn has gone on a war path about James Comey going to jail, John Brennan going to jail, Victoria Nuland, who is the architect behind the Ukraine scandal, all of it, going to jail. It's all heating up.
General Flynn is very prophetic because I have had so many prophecies on James Comey lately and the FBI. I cannot wait to share them all with you. I just had a huge one again I gave out this morning. But this is something that he said that I wanted to bring up because I'm just like, General Flynn, you're listening. You must be listening to the Lord because it goes right on with what he's saying. But I had given this one out. This was called A Firestorm of Truth Will Set the Establishment Ablaze. This was from February 8th. I gave it out on the 14th. This is about Ukraine. Now, of course, since I've been on here for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been talking about Ukraine since the beginning.
Yep.
And how they have used Ukraine as a front. Now, it said, it will be proven where the money Ukraine received truly went and who received payments. And what was really been hidden behind this war funding. There are more dark secrets buried in Ukraine. All these secrets and the criminal activities that were committed by your government or United States are about to be disclosed or discovered. This money laundering scheme, using the excuse of helping to stop wars, has been going on for too long. They never wanted to stop wars. It was just another ploy and a honey hole to steal from the American taxpayers. That was something that God has been talking about, that Ukraine was a money laundering scheme. And when I just found out that General Flynn was on a war path, and I would just show this from my team, he was going all these different places and doing interviews, I just started just giggling. And I was just like, this is so prophetic. And it was right on with what God has been saying for so long that I couldn't have known the intel from the military because I'm not in the military, but I get the intel from Almighty God and how it's matching along with generals. It is so amazing what God is doing, how he's putting natural and the spiritual together and how he's exposing this. But I'm telling you, this is so important for God's people to know. God is giving us not to fear. God is giving us to prepare for what he's about to do.
Right. And General Flynn, if people that follow General Flynn, we both have gotten to know General Flynn really well over the last years. He's legit. I personally say he's a good friend. Matter of fact, him and I text the other night, real late, about something he's working on behind the scenes that I just said, thank you for what you're doing. You're not getting the credit for it yet, but you will. And what did he say? He said, I said, light wins. And he said, always, light always will win. Mm-hmm. But again, another thing that General Flynn brought up, I don't know if it was this week or the end of last week. Again, he's been on fire. He's talking about the assassination attempt of President Trump, tied to Victoria Nuland and the Ukraine. Now more of that's coming out, that the second shooter is connected. There's multiple shooters, an independent investigator have said, and the ties from Ukraine to assassination attempt on President Trump is legit. Remember Victoria Nuland, that odd video that she did just a couple days before the assassination attempt of President Trump, saying he would not be president. And remember, again, CNN went live in Butler, Pennsylvania, the only time they've ever went live on one of his rallies. That was Butler, Pennsylvania. They missed, and it's coming home to roost.
Yes, and one of the things I had given out just this morning, now I've had a lot of different ones on Butler and how it was connected to a lot of the swamp, and of course the FBI, the Secret Service. A lot of this has been embedded because they did the same thing they did with JFK, and Guy's been saying for a long time, since the beginning of this, that there has been more than one. This has been like a similar type of, what do you call it, a similar type of blueprint that it was with JFK assassination. They used the same things. This is what he said this morning. Breaking reports will soon come out how the FBI was involved in Butler and who worked with Thomas Crooks, who trained him, and who was helping him that day. So we know that there was more than one shooter. We also know that he was trained by the FBI. That's one reason why how the FBI and you had the Secret Service and anybody could have stopped him. The sheriff's office, even that was working there that day, was like, what is going on? And why aren't they had no communication with them. They had no walkie-talkies. They had nothing that usually would have communication with the Secret Service and with the sheriff and the FBI and whoever was there to protect the president or, a person that's running for office. And there was a breakdown of a line of communication. Why? Because they didn't want the local officials knowing what they were doing.
Yep.
And so apparently, what the Lord was showing is that Thomas Crooks was working and trained by the FBI. That is going to come out. The assassination attempt of President Trump that they try to bury and they try to destroy evidence by obviously killing Thomas Crooks because he was just a fall guy. This is going to start unraveling very, very quickly. And what you were saying about General Flynn, what God's been saying for the longest time, since that day that happened, he is going to show how the swamp or the deep state had been involved in this and how they tried to use the same type of thing with JFK to cover this up, to try to kill him, to stop him from dismantling the establishment, just like JFK was going to do to them back several years ago.
Well, that's come out now, too, confirmed since the JFK files have come out. It has been confirmed that there was two shooters. We wondered about that forever. I know Tucker Carlson talked about it, but the official files talk about that as two shooters. So it's the same thing, same playbook inside our own government. Try to take out a sitting president. It's insanity. And this you tie into foreign governments, too. This explains why they are the Democrats and some rhino Republicans are so crazy about Ukraine. You look at last night's speech and they have the Ukraine flags on. They're booing him. They're just, why would you have this much hatred and you want to support another country as much as Ukraine? Because you're petrified they're going to find out it's paid back to you. Yep. And that's what's coming next.
Yeah, because the Lord's been talking about how he's going to remove Zelensky. And I love the fact that the president said, you're going to have elections because you're basically, you're illegitimate now. So get out of the way. I love how he talks to him. But again, this is something that God's been saying that they've been using this war and war racketeering, war funding, foreign aid, all that kind of stuff. That is a front for slush money. And like you said, not only Ukraine, we're going to find out a lot of these other countries and this foreign aid that they were supposedly getting, which they actually weren't getting, it was being funneled back to the swamp rats in DC. And so we're going to find out a lot of them have their hands in the cookie jar. Another thing that the Lord has been talking about too is that he was going to find their offshore accounts. He was going to raid them and he was going to empty them. And there's going to be a lot of offshore accounts that we're going to find out with our government. A lot of them, we think, okay, we know how much Nancy Pelosi is worth. We know how much, all these people are worth. No, we don't. Because they have money that's under their radar or in different books. So you're not seeing how much they're really getting. They have more than what's in their accounts. Even though their accounts are bad, they have more than what you see.
That's exactly right. A good example is I know two people really, really connected high up that have both told me separately that the richest man in the world is not Elon Musk. It's Vladimir Putin. Mm. He's got gold, and you can't track the gold. It's one of the beauties of silver and gold. It's not on a digit where you can see how much they have. So they have two sets of books, like you're saying. And so if they say they have 80 million, they got a lot more than that some other way, whether it's through crypto or silver, gold, whatever it may be. Family members, and just all of it.
And just wait, we know how bad Social Security is. It's obviously been found out that there's people over 120 years old. There's somebody, I think, over 300 years old that's collecting Social Security. Where is that going? When God's been saying for a long time, follow the money, find the truth, we're finding out they don't like it when we find the money. That's the reason why they're so after Doge and they're after Elon Musk, because the money system that they have, this underground, the slush funds, the honey holes, the honey pots, all these things, it's funding the government and it's funding these people because these people are going to put their lives on the line without making a buttload of money. That's what they've been doing for a very long time. They're not just politicians that just want to do good for our country. Like you said, they care more about Ukraine than they do our country. They're standing up for Vladimir Putin, Zelensky, and they're standing up for him when he was the one, basically, this entitled little brat coming in there and saying, I want. You should want peace. You should want this war to end. You shouldn't want to keep funding and giving money to something. Why do they want people's lives to be lost because, this war they're fighting? Well, you also have them not standing up for that 13-year-old who's fighting brain cancer. Oh, man, you see where their alliances lie. They didn't care about this 13-year-old. It was so pathetic. I didn't watch it. I only saw little tiny clips. But as I get up by 2:30 in the morning, so I'm not awake that late. But I saw some of these clips and it just broke my heart because I'm sitting there seeing this. This kid was being honored by the President of the United States of America. And they could not put aside their hatred for him and this country to stand up for this little boy.
Yep.
And God was saying he was going to unmask them to show their true colors and who they really are. And they were starting to really show who they really are last night, about how evil and corrupt that system is, and that they're basically bought and paid for, just like they did with that little mockingbird little act of apparently 20-some senators coming out and saying the exact same things and holding up the same exact little microphone, or almost the same microphone, in the same type of podcast way, the exact same words. These people are owned by the establishment, and it's now coming out more and more.
They did. You're talking about the boy that is fighting off with a brain. Just tragic story. Not only did they not rise, I was watching two feeds at the same time, and I got one of the feeds showed me the senator of Michigan, Debbie Stabenow, I think it was. She not only didn't stand, but when they were talking about this child, death-like situation, she rolled her eyes. I saw, and it's now captured on social media. Is going out there. We tweeted it back out, but she's literally rolling her eyes during that period. That's just evil.
It shows how evil they are, and God said He was going to do that. He was going to put them on center stage to show people who they truly are, and the masks were going to come off. And not just, there are literal masks. Yes, we know that because Hollywood has been basically controlling and has a lot of to deal with in DC. We know a lot of people are not who they say they are. But unmasking is just what they really stand for and what they believe. And we can see they're not united with this country. We can see they're not united for the sake of these families of these illegal immigrants. These people like Laken Riley, who was killed by an illegal immigrant. They're not standing up for the American citizen who was killed and their family. They're sticking up for the illegal immigrant that killed her. It's so, just like what God said in the last days, evil will be portrayed as good and good is evil.
Yeah.
And we can see that now more than we've ever seen in our history of our country, how evil these people are and how they are so anti-American and anti-freedom and anti-truth. You can see that. They don't know how to speak without being given a script, which God said that he would prove those scripts and who gives it to them and where it comes from.
Yeah, well, that showed last night with the face and the messages they tried to say. It was all scripted. Obviously, the Speaker of the House and J.D. Vance had to have a plan before that. They knew it was going to happen, and I think they did a pretty good job of getting Green out of there. You saw J.D. Vance going like this: "Get him out! Get him out! Get him out!" So they had a plan to get him out pretty quick, and that wasn't freedom of speech. He was trying to disrupt President Trump. Period. And violated many laws inside the Capitol, and it's insanity. It's a split country.
Yeah, and one of the things that they did too is you can't hold up signs like that. That's against the protocol or against the rules in the House of Representatives. So that's something else that they did. I'm wondering how, what's going to happen with them. If there'll be any justice be done with that in a certain way. I have a feeling there's going to be. But it shows the true maturity, how they don't have any really, and how that they're trying to divide this country. When we're the United States of America, we're supposed to be a united front. We're supposed to be united for the health of a child. We're supposed to be united for justice for people who have lost their lives to illegal immigrants. We're supposed to be united in the fact that we have freedom in this country that was not given to us by our government, that was given to us by God himself. And so these people who are trying to run and rule this country, and again, God said because they were so full of panic and they were so full of fear, they're going to be making more and more mistakes on live TV. And they're going to be saying things that they did not mean to say on live TV. And one of my CEO, thank you, Mary Lou, she was telling me, I think, I don't know if it was a congressman or a senator or whoever it was, when she was getting interviewed, she meant to say that Trump is always lying.
Yeah.
And she accidentally said, they are lying. So again, she said the truth instead of saying the lie. Which God said he's been saying that this was going to happen. I think we're going to start seeing this more and more. They're going to reveal themselves by saying something they did not mean to say on live TV.
Well, not only did she say it once, I think I know what the video she's talking about. She said it twice. There's one time just to slip. I slip up all the time. Freudian slips and just slips, wrong word, whatever. But she said it twice in a row. That's pretty revealing. But their demeanor, I like the point where President Trump says, here's you got a Kennedy. He took RFK Jr., recognized him, make America healthy again. And not a single Democrat. And he's a Kennedy, for crying out loud. It's just, where is the unity of this country?
Yeah, but they got to think. They think he's a traitor now because he went to the other side. Trump was a Democrat at one point, and he went to the other side. You have Tulsi Gabbard, you have RFK Jr., you have all them. But it's because people are seeing the truth. Yep. And the more they're going to try to go against President Trump, the more the American people are going to see through the facade. The blinders are going to be removed in a lot of these ways that they have used PSYOP operations. They've used all this mind control and brainwashing. God is revealing the truth to people, and truth sets people free. And so a lot of people are going to be set free from all this demonic deception that these people have tried to put on the American people. So I say, more power to them. You just keep showing your true colors and just keep having more people. God said that we're going to leave in masses of the left side, and they are starting to leave by masses. I mean, it has been, they've been hemorrhaging for a long time. And you can see on the mainstream media talks about how they don't even have a true leader right now in the Democratic Party. Why? They are in shambles. Yep. They have been so shaken. They don't know how to ground and ground their feet and have that foundation back under them. And God said it wasn't going to happen because he's tearing their walls apart.
Well, you got even CNN had a approval rating after the President Trump speech last night. 80% of the American people from CNN thought the Democrats were out of line. 80% thought the Democrats were out of line. So the American people are like, what? How could you follow any of that anyway? Who doesn't want to make America great? Who doesn't want to have more taxes, money back to their system after we see fraud? And I heard from somebody that is really close to RFK Jr. We have to pray for RFK Jr. He is in the middle of a swamp. He doesn't have his generals around him yet because he just got confirmed, and they're trying to set him up with what he says and what he tries to do, try to destroy his credibility before he gets his team together. So pray. You know, there's this went viral about him supposedly saying vaccination about measles. He did not say that, and they took it out of context. And I know that there's an internal war going against RFK Jr. right now. So we got to pray for him.
Yes, we do. We have to pray for a lot of people right now because they are like those caged animals and they're like rabid dogs. They are out of control. They will do anything to protect the money. They'll do anything to protect the system, and they will go after anyone. And that's why God's been telling us over and over and over again that we have to be pleading the blood of Jesus. We have to be using the sword of the Spirit. That's our weapon. That's how we war. And he was giving the example again this morning of David and how David fought Goliath. He said, you come to me with a sword and a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord. We have to fight on our knees. And so we need to be praying for those people who are on the front lines like RFK Jr., who may not know how to pray the right way, and do not have people who are, like a prayer group that are praying for him. We need to be that line of defense.
Yep.
For those people who are putting their lives on the line to help save ours and to help save this nation. Because the enemies are right now unpredictable. And so we have to be really praying because they will do anything to stop the hemorrhaging that they're seeing coming from anywhere. And all the fires that are being started, they don't know how to put out. They are in a very dangerous position of collapse, and they will do anything to strike back and stop what they're seeing right now.
Yeah, so that's why we have to keep them all up in prayer, especially, again, RFK Jr. He's taking on the establishment. He's taking on Big Pharma. He's taking on BlackRock. He's taking up that whole thing, and nobody wants him to be successful from that end because it's going to expose them. And what happens to the American people in the world? We get sicker and sicker and sicker. They create the virus or whatever it is, and then they give us something to medicate it and never get better. And it's time for us to get out of that bubble.
Yeah, one of the things I was actually on with my team this morning, and we were on our prayer call, and the Lord gave a prophetic word on there. And one of the things that he was talking about is that, when the children of Israel, when they left Egypt, there was no feeble. And he was saying, I don't want my children to lack in anything. One of the weapons our enemies has used against us is stealing.
Yep.
And people just think by stealing elections, they've been stealing our money, they've been stealing, they've been stealing our peace. They've been stealing our health. They've been stealing families, marriages, children. They've been stealing from us in every way they can possibly steal. And God's saying, I'm eradicating this system and their weapon. And he said, you have the greatest weapon on earth. And that is the sword of the Spirit. It is the truth. God's word is truth. And God's word destroys all their thievery, all their things that they're doing against us. God can restore our health unto us. God can restore our families. God can restore peace in our minds that they're trying to destroy. They're trying to poison us in every way, shape, and form. God's been warning us about that for a long time. He's been telling us about what they're doing with viruses. All of a sudden, you're hearing about measles now. You're hearing about this other type of new COVID that came out of Wuhan. And now you're hearing about all the bird flu and the different types of bird flu. And you're hearing about all this different stuff because they're trying to bring this fear in order to paralyze people. Because if they're stealing your peace, they're stealing your joy. You have no strength. Your peace, you have no peace of mind. So then you're going to be erratic and you're going to be in a panic. And if you're in panic, you're not thinking properly. And then, of course, they've been stealing our health. They've been trying to weaken us in every way they can. So we can't fight them back. It's easier to keep control It's easier to steal a nation if you weaken the people in it that are against you. That's exactly what Pharaoh did. It is nothing that's been new under the sun. God said it's happened before, and God is going to do the same thing where he's going to restore his people. And so this is where like RFK Jr. is right now. He's fighting the swamp, yes. He's fighting the globalists. But he's also a part of a fight of good versus evil. This is a spiritual battle. And people like him do need our prayer, just like Pam Bondi, just like Kash Patel, just like President Trump, and anybody else that's been chosen who does not know how to fight spiritually the way they need to fight, because natural ability and natural weapons are not going to conquer this war. We have to start fighting it spiritually. And that's why God says we're on the front lines and we can never surrender. And that's why we have to get our strength and our restoration from God so we can help fight in this battle, because God says it's a good fight. He summoned us to this battle. Just like, our military can be summoned in a draft. We've been summoned by Almighty God to stay in this battle and to fight in this battle. He is our general. He is that commander in chief. He is the one who leads the other generals. He's our commander in chief. He leads the generals and he leads the army. Same thing what you see in the natural is the same thing you see it happens in the spiritual. We are in the army of the Lord. We have to fight. He's telling us we got to keep moving. We got to keep putting pressure on our enemies, because the enemies are going to keep trying to put pressure on us. They're going to lose. They're going to eventually be forced to forfeit. They will lose and have to surrender and wave that white flag. We don't. We just have to stay strong in the Lord and not be distracted by what they want us to be distracted with.
It's exactly right. While we were talking, one of the generals texts me and says they serve their God, lowercase God, Satan. And that's exactly what this is all about. This is Matthew 24. Nation versus nation. That's nation, physical nation. But kingdom versus kingdom is the kingdom of God versus the kingdom of Satan. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Light versus dark. And it's going to be exposed. The kingdom of Satan is this deep state. And their love is for, the blood of innocent, the blood of the children, and God is going to say absolutely no more to this, and light is going to win.
That's right. It is a good versus evil, and good always conquers. God always wins, and that's why we have to keep pressing in. Light will shine through us and destroy that darkness. We have to keep pressing into the Lord.
And just remember that as we go into break, that light wins. We've already become victors in Christ Jesus. And I was trying to keep up with all the generals coming in, and you said you have more for the generals. So it's hard for me to keep up with all the generals coming in. But they confirm what you're saying.
I have a lot more for the generals. Yeah, I actually have a lot for them, because there has been so much. And the next 2 days that I'll be giving out, Thursday and Friday, is so big. The last couple of days have been really big with child sex trafficking. It's been really big with the FBI. It's been really big with the swamp and the deep state. And how God is going to take down a lot of these judges, how he's taking down a lot of the system, the intelligence community, how they were used. God even said that the intelligence community was the front line of defense, basically, protection of the swamp. And so that's the reason why they have been so big, and they've been used as basically a weapon against us. And so there's been a lot of things. That's why when you told me that the generals were watching, I'm like, oh, just wait, because there are so many things I haven't even gotten to, like a little bit of what God has been saying yet. There's just so much. And that's why I told you that the enemy is trying to do everything he can to stop prophetic words. He's trying to do everything to stop the truth from coming out, because so many people, as you can see in the last 4 to 5 years, you see more and more prophetic and more prophets come out. And they're speaking the truth, and it's getting people's attention, and they're going in the right direction. Yep. Well, Satan is trying to do everything he can to stop that. There is a war in all fronts. Politically, there's also a war spiritually. And like we talked about earlier, light always wins. God never said we weren't ever going to be in a fight. Right. We're in a fight. Yeah. And there's a lot of, ramifications. There's a lot of blowback. There's a lot of weapons he tries to throw at you. This is where we have to really dig in our heels and realize that God is in control. And we can't even make prophecy fulfill videos fast enough. We have a team that work so hard, but we can't get out enough because God has been, all this has been saying for the last 5 years. It's all been like building up. You're just like, okay, what do we do first? Because this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Because it's all unfolding like we've been talking about. That house of cards is being dismantled right in front of our face. And I think what we're seeing now, and God keeps saying it's going to intensify, we still haven't seen anything yet.
No.
We truly have not seen anything yet. So buckle up, because one of the things that God's been talking about, watch out for the 5G towers, watch out for cell phones, watch out for electricity. All these things are going to be interrupted because there were things that we're going to use against technology. I think I've said this before on the show. They were using technology. This is their 5th generation warfare. This is what they were doing. It's a silent weapon that you don't see. People think that wars are just like fought like Russia and Ukraine. They're not. The war that's been against our country has been worse because it's been under the radar where people didn't realize it and we weren't fighting it back.
Wow. Yeah, you said a lot with the 5G towers. That could be they could be used for bad, as we've talked about many times before. Elon Musk has made a move with T-Mobile to get Starlink through T-Mobile. And that's got to get all the carriers extremely scared, because if Elon Musk gets into being able to get cell phones from Starlink, why would people want to have to go to the Verizons? On top of that, there was an announcement that Elon Musk's team is going to take over the FAA of all the problems they've had with communication. That Verizon system is just too outdated. So you got even the big telecommunications company very worried, and they're unethical too. Let me tell you, I know from firsthand. We knew the dangers of 5G back when I was a director at AT&T back to 2003. We knew what this could do, and it was a moral decision to go forward, and they decided to go forward because of the money.
That's right. And that's what the enemies, that's going to be their ultimate downfall, is what God said it was the money. Their honey holes and all the things that they have done. Remember how he's also talked about the FAA?
Yep.
And he said it was being sabotaged. Look at all the things that have been going on with airplanes. God's been talking about grounding of airplanes. He's been talking about them sabotaging our airplanes. He's been talking about them sabotaging President Trump and his presidency. You can see all the ways they're sabotaging, and they're not even trying to hide what they're doing. What they're doing with airplanes is absolutely sickening, because of so many people's lives that can be lost in one airplane alone. And how we know there's more to do with that Black Hawk, and why it was up so high, why it was a mile and a half, like a mile and a half off course. There's so much to do with that. And God said that was part of something else that they're trying to cover up. There's so many things that are going to come out. That whole entire thing was not an accident. We're going to find out how it was an accident and what was going on with that Black Hawk and why it targeted that specific plane. There are so many different things going on right now with airlines, and with Boeing is going to be a huge one that's going to set a blaze to a lot of the airlines. So hold your hats, because God said there's going to be some grounding of planes. We've seen some, but I think we're going to see a lot more. And that's not to disrupt us and get us really upset and go, okay, I can't do this something. God is saying, no, I'm clearing out the skies because something else has to fill them up. Yeah,
you just said a lot. President Trump threw a signal to the deep state last night about exactly what you just said. He talked about DEI, and he said women pilots. He was referring to what you were talking about, the Black Hawk and the American Airlines coming together, and that was no accident. That was his way of saying, I know what you did. TikTok. Also, you mentioned Boeing. I think I've mentioned this several times in the last couple of years. I know 2 whistleblowers that have everything on Boeing. Everything. Though it's far worse than anybody can ever imagine. Not just with the airlines, but remember, they're a government contractor too for our military. Once the military, our veterans who serve this country know what Boeing did, they're going to be sick, literally sick to their stomach, and probably lose it. It's horrible.
That's what we have to pray. We have to pray for our veterans. We have to pray for our military men and women in service right now. We have to pray for our first responders. We have to pray for our police officers and all them, just because there are so many things that have happened on purpose to this country, that so many lives were lost. And again, one of the hardest things that people are going to find out too is 9/11 and how that started that war and how that was really started by our own government and how, like we talked about the Operation Blue Beam. We've talked about a lot of things that they have done. The Pentagon, again, I love and respect our military, and everybody knows that. But there is so much that goes into that facility that is going to come out. And I think it was one person that had on there that it is a black hole financially. I think it was like $35 trillion is what he said of a black hole of military funding. And so we're going to find out where that money went and all those off books, all those other extra books that they had. God has been revealing that for a very long time. It's going to come out. But again, we have to realize that the people are going to be forced out. He said that generals were going to be losing and military men and women would be losing their medals. Tried for treason. I mean, he's talked about a lot of things. He talked about indictments, people being removed, people being, well, days of Haman, and Haman was hung. So there's a lot that's going to go along with this. And so there's a lot of things that, I mean, we're going to see that it's unprecedented and people aren't going to really understand why this is happening. Some people might even think when this happens that this is really bad when God is saying, no, I told you that this had to be happen in order for your good, in order for your victory. So there's a lot of removals coming. God's been talking about that, the days of removals. And we just saw a big, huge person out of the FBI in the New York office, I can't remember his name, was just forced out. That's the beginning of getting rid of people in the FBI, which God said was going to happen. We're going to start seeing more of the CIA, people being removed. They're going to be forced out. A lot of leaders and watch judges. I have a paragraph right here that mentions a lot of people that are going to be removed. So.
All right, so let's hit that. Before you hit that, yesterday with General McInerney and General Valley, we were talking about generals, and I asked them. They're generals. General Valley was a 4-star, General McInerney a 3-star, and I said, what's going to happen to Milley? And they didn't even hesitate. Treason, and there's going to be many other generals. Treason. And I'm telling you, 3- and 4-star generals like General Valley and General McInerney, you don't use that T word just off the flip. It's the most serious thing you can do against your country is treason. And especially when you're sworn in as a officer or a general to this country. Remember, when we join the military, we're not sworn into the commander in chief. We're not sworn into a general. We're sworn into the Constitution of the United States of America, and we're called to follow lawful orders. So that means even if the commander in chief and a general tells you something that's unlawful, you are not to follow it. Matter of fact, a private can arrest a general. The private could arrest the commander in chief if they violated serious enough. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Lord talked to me about when he talked about General Milley. God said that treason would be his end.
Yep.
And there's going to be a lot, like you said, just like the, General McInerney and Valley, when they were both talking about it, there is going to be a lot of them that's going to come out because there are so many of them that have been an enemy to this country. And like you said, they sworn to protect, and they're not. They're doing everything they can against us, and it is treason. God said treason would be the end to a lot of people. Yep. He said we were going to hear that word a lot. We were going to see what happens with treason and what happens to these people. And again, Guantanamo Bay, it being open, it being filled, and it's not only with illegal immigrants. I just want people to know that there has been prophecies about Guantanamo, and there's also been proof with people like Monkey Works, who does a great job. My team watches them. I can't just because of prophecy, but how a lot of governmental planes have gone down there. A lot over the course of, since Biden was in office. There's so much going to happen. There's so much, even with Biden, so much going to be uncovered with Hillary, so much going to be uncovered with Comey, so much going to be uncovered with Ray, the Mueller report, so much going to be uncovered with, who was it? He was talking about, Adam
Schiff.
Schiff. Oh my gosh. And God said that his pardon was laughable. So there's a lot that's going to come out. But he even said people who are not in office now, They're gone, they're retired, they're done. They're not out of the danger zone. They can't hide, even though they're not in these positions anymore. And General Milley, like I said, I think he's going to be one of the first ones that will have his medals removed. I know there's other ones we talked about. You even talked about General Petraeus. I don't know a lot. I have not heard prophetic words about him, but how you said his name was like, wow. And every time I see his name, every time I see his face, that's why I think it's betray us. And I don't think God does that for, any just reason. So we just have to pray, because we love our military, love our military men and women who really truly fight for this country, fight for our freedom. But we have been embedded so deep and so bad by the government and by the establishment. They try to take over these systems and try to bring darkness and evil to it. But again, good is going to win.
Good is going to win. You mentioned that Schiff and the pardon. I have not seen this officially on any mainstream media or anywhere, but I've heard from two sources. One is Joy Gilbert yesterday tweeted this out. He is a lawyer. He a former famous boxer, ran for governor of Nevada, been on the Reawaken tour with us. He said that the Ninth Circuit came out and said no to these pardons. They're unconstitutional. You can't pardon somebody for something they didn't do yet when there's no crime.
That's right.
So that's
unconstitutional. And think about how many people Biden gave himself away, along with his family, along with Fauci, along with Adam Schiff, along with General Milley, along with all the people that he pardoned that literally are not legitimate. He gave it away. It's almost like saying, hey, look at them. They did something wrong. I want to protect them. And of course, all of Biden's entire family, except for himself. It's funny. The deep state didn't let him pardon himself. It wouldn't have mattered anyway, because it's all going to come down because he's not a legitimate president. So if you're not legitimate, you can't pardon. So again, there's so many ways that all these things are going to be taken down with Biden. But they're about to let him go. Again, we're going to start seeing a lot of people fall. And a lot of people cause distraction because they don't want the emphasis on the money, on the FBI or on the CIA. So they're gonna start deflecting. They're gonna start causing distractions. Like, okay, Biden's gonna did this and Biden's gonna did that. And they're gonna let people that they don't care about anymore. They're gonna let them loose in order for people to start paying attention over here and not looking over here to what's really going on.
Yep. That's exactly right. The other point that you made is the target on them with the pardon. Also, the date was significant. With going to 2014, it got everybody going, why did you pull out 2014? So you got the digital warriors going, what's in 2014? All going back to Ukraine. How does Dr. Fauci tie to 2014? Because, yes, it came from Wuhan, but it came from also a lab in Ukraine. It was all funded through Ukraine and through Hunter and through not just the Democrats, though. You have Mitt Romney was involved in that. John McCain was involved in that. Lindsey Graham was involved in that. We'll see how big they're involved and what their paychecks were because, again, that the senator, I can't think of his name. It's Tim something, came out today and said, as I think I said earlier, they can follow the trail back on what happened with Ukraine, and it's going to shock people.
One of the things, the stupid thing that he did, like you said, it's like he played his hand before the game was over.
Yep. And
God said the enemies were playing checkers and Trump was playing chess. They're not on the same playing field. And so he showed that hand. He gave stuff away that he shouldn't have because they were so petrified of what Trump was going to do. They didn't think about the ramifications of him getting in and him finding out what they were doing and stopping it. They truly thought they were going to assassinate him or they're going to impeach him or they were going to try to stop him anyway. They're not. They're not going to be able to. And now we have where you said, all these people are like, okay, then what's going on in 2014? They never would have looked at 2014 before. They overplayed their hand because of panic, which God said they were going to. They're going to overplay their hand and they were going to make major mistakes. And so it was going to give themselves more away. We're seeing that more and more. It's so easy. And as I said, when I see these things, I just absolutely laugh. I'm like, God, you are so cool. You are so awesome. You've been telling us this for so long. And another thing about the Biden, how Biden lost his mind and how God had been prophesying that before it came out. And a lot of people, I mean, some people were noticing it, but God said he was going to keep losing his mind. It was going to get worse and worse and worse. So the fact that they couldn't hide it anymore. And of course, January 27th happened and that whole debate, and they couldn't hide it anymore. And then they removed him, and then they brought Kamala in. God also said more people were going to be just like the Biden, and they were going to start losing their cognitive ability and their functionality.
Well, I know who one of them.
Start losing their minds.
Yep, Nancy's one of those. No doubt about it. So this goes back to the Russian hoax and goes back to Ukraine. Everything goes back to Russia, hoax, Ukraine. That's the center of all this. And who knows the most about Russia, hoax, and Ukraine? Kash Patel. I mean, he knows it all. Between him and General Flynn, they have all of it. They know everything. And it just happens to be Kash is the new FBI director. That's got to get them panicking.
And he is an amazing person. We both know him from the Reawaken America tour. He's been on my show. He's been on your show. I mean, he is so awesome. And when he got that, I was so excited about it. You know, the thing is, too, about Russia and Ukraine, they overplayed their hand with that as well. And with Epstein.
Yep.
You got to remember those classified documents that just came out, that portfolio they allowed people to have. They overplayed their hand with that because it was basically the same information that had already been given out. Most information was redacted. And people were going, whoa. There's way more to this. This is some smoke screen and mirrors. You guys are kind of trying to deflect and try to hide from it. And all of a sudden now you have Pam Bondi and you have Kash Patel digging in. And apparently she just got a truckload of proof of Epstein. Remember when God said Epstein a long time ago? It wasn't just have anything to do with this island. It was a system that was all over the world. And it has to do with all these different countries. It was not just Epstein Island. Epstein Island was just a place that one of the places they went to was not the only one. But everybody keeps talking about Epstein Island, Epstein Island. Yeah, there's a lot of proof there if we went there. But there's more in different countries.
And Pam Bondi gave him to 8 o'clock because the New York office was holding back the guy that they forced to resign. He was the one that sent emails to everyone and said, dig in, fight Kash, fight the system. And I don't think we talked about this last week because it was after last week when we were together that this happened. But they sent 26 FBI cars, I'm told, into the New York office. And when you said they took a truckload, that was literal. They took the information in those 26 vehicles and came back with it. And now Kash and Pam Bondi are looking into it. So the FBI raided the FBI.
It was out of New York?
It was out of New York. Yep. Over 1,000 pages, she said.
I wish I had this prophecy already out. I think it's going to be given out tomorrow. It talks about, I told you earlier, about how much destruction is in Manhattan and New York. And there's a reason why, is because that is where God, or that's where George Washington gave this country to God, was in Lower Manhattan. That was our first capital. That's why it has been a target for evil and destruction. And so that's why when God was showing me in this prophetic word about how evil New York is and why it was evil, is because Satan was trying to basically override and stop that sacrifice that was given to God, that prayer of this country for him.
Yep.
That's why this place is so significant for crime and corruption. We're going to find out. It's not just like New York City itself and what you're seeing with, Governor Hochul, and you're seeing this is a financial system. It goes so far back. A lot of things that are trying to destroy this nation are based in New York City. And the reason is because that's where it was given life.
Literally. Literally. So it goes back to 9/11. We talked about 9/11. That is just not an arbitrary date that somebody picks up. That is very known in Islam, 9/11. Did you know that the stock market was formed and started on 9/11? I don't remember what date it was back, whatever years. But what is the symbol of the U.S. or the stock market? A bull. This is not just a bull for a bull run. This is a bull of worshiping their God. Did you know the Pentagon opened on 9/11 back in whatever day, 40s or whenever it was? There's a theme to all this. It's all connected.
I did not know that. But once you said the bull, I've never been there, but isn't the bull gold?
I'm not sure it's gold. I think it's bronze.
It's like okay, it's bronze?
Yeah.
Okay. You got to think about that. That brings me back to the children of Israel. When they were in the wilderness and they built the bull.
Yep.
It was gold. Now, of course, this one is bronze, apparently. But it is significant, and I had no idea those dates were the same. And that's not a coincidence with our enemies at all. Dates are very, not coincidental, they're very strategic, and so are dates with Almighty God. So, again, what the enemy is trying to do is trying to deflect from what God is doing, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. What they're trying to do with New York, what they're trying to do with the system in this country is trying to bring a death to the soul of this nation. And God is saying, I'm reviving it. And so when we see a death to their system, it's a death to the United States that was never meant to be. The system that was never meant to be here. We're going to see God revive this country into a country that was better than it ever was, even when it was first founded, and even it was given over to God with George Washington doing the first thing that he ever did as the first president of the United States of America is going down to that church, which was spared when 9/11 happened. That church still stands today. When he gave this country to God at that church, that's so significant, why it's still standing, and no matter what they're doing under the tunnels and under the ground, and what they're doing in those buildings in New York, and what they're doing in Wall Street, and what they're trying to do to try to kill this country, it's not going to work. God is going to root them out. He's going to destroy the system, and we are going to see, like I said, it's like a fireworks show. It is going to be one big thing after another. But keep your eyes on New York City. There is going to be so much of their things that they're hiding. Again, and one of the biggest Ponzi schemes, money laundering, there's going to be so much that's going to be found out back to Wall Street.
That's right. Yep.
It is a huge, huge funneling system for the swamp. And it affects not just this country, but it affects the world. And we're going to find out what they were doing with a lot of that and how they were manipulating the stock market. And God said he's going to bring us back to the gold standard. I love how President Trump wants to go look at Fort Knox, and we talked about that last time. And we're going to find out what they've done with our gold in this country, how they've hid it, what they've done with it, and God's going to restore it. And I can't wait till he gets rid of the IRS, because God's been saying that for the last 3 or 4 years, because that's also another Ponzi scheme that they use to pocket our taxpayer money with and then give it to the enemies as well. So there's a lot that has to happen. There's a lot that's going to look worse, and it has to look worse because God is drawing out the big fish. He's ruling them out into the open. I think in much panic.
I think Kash Patel mentioned a couple times before he became FBI director. I think he said it with us at Reawaken. I don't remember his exact words, but he's going to clean out the FBI office, or nothing's going to be left of it, or something like that. Well, President Trump just made that clear. He's selling the FBI building. With other buildings, he's selling I think there's 433 buildings he's selling that are federal buildings because they're useless. But if you go to the FBI building, this is creepy. I've been at the base of the FBI building. There's a plaque that said this has been built by the Freemasons. I wouldn't want to be anything to do with that. It's right there. Not good.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Oh my gosh. God had so many prophecies, and one of them was about the Freemasons. We're going to find out about how a lot of buildings in Washington, D.C. was built strategically, how everything was set up, how all the buildings are aligned, why they're in that type of pattern, why each building is the way it is, where it is. A lot of masonry symbolism, a lot of their structure is there. God talked about how the architects, and he talked about the Illuminati, the Bilderberg, the Trilateral Commission, the Skull and Bone, the Freemasons. He's talked about the secret societies. The secret societies are the ones that control the governments. They're the ones that control the nations around the world. And so that's the reason why, the people that you see, politicians, they're owned by the secret societies. They're not like they can just do willy-nilly and do whatever they want. No, they can't. That's why you saw 20 different senators come out and have the same stupid, sentencing in the same stupid video because they're told to, because they're owned by someone else. And so they're just puppets, just like Biden was a puppet. And people don't realize the whole entire government is basically full of little minions and puppets to the world elites. And that's why God said he has to take care and get rid of the WHO. He's got to get rid of the World Economic Forum. He's going to tear apart NATO. He's going to tear apart anything that's globalist related that is using a system that's against God's people. God is getting rid of the globalist system. And I'm telling you, it is going to affect a lot of nations, a lot of things around the world. But it's a good thing. He has to do this in order to clean it out of what's been done because they're embedded in everything. And that's the reason why you're going to start seeing a lot of the churches. We've already started seeing a lot of shaking. We have not seen anything yet. There's going to be more ministries that are going to come down and more people, pastors and whatever. Unfortunately, they're going to be tied to the globalists because Satan embedded himself in the church as well.
Yeah, who was it that called out Rick Warren? Was it yesterday? I don't remember. Somebody you both of us know. I can't recall that, but that is coming. Daystars had their problems. Many our pastors and mega churches are having problems. You're going to see prophetic voices that were not listening to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, another God, or kind of trying to be on both sides. That will be exposed. But going back to Statue of Liberty, that's another one. Statue of Liberty, I'm told, is going to come down. Did you have a prophetic word about Statue of Liberty coming down?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Several of them, actually. Yeah.
So the Statue of Liberty is another one that's not what we think it is. That's another god that was brought in here as a symbol that we thought was a good symbol, and it's not a good symbol.
No, it's like a Greek or Egyptian goddess of like slavery. It's like she's a whore.
Yep.
And so, it was basically given to us like with a big middle finger. Like, you're too stupid to figure it out what this thing is. But you guys think it's a symbol of freedom when it's actually a symbol of slavery.
Yep.
And we're also going to see the Washington Monument. That's something else. The whatever that thing is called. I can't think of it's the Washington Monument. That's such an evil type of structure.
You can feel the demonic to that. Demons have territory.
Oh, yeah.
The demons are there, and people say there's no tunnels under the ground. Well, if you just go up to the Washington Monument and look through the grates, you see the tunnels. I showed people that last time I was there and say, people say there, took a flashlight, there's the tunnels right there. I mean, they didn't even try to hide them.
When we were there for the prayer, the National Day of Prayer, that breakfast, we went, and one of the places we went to was by the Washington Monument, and I could I've been there before. I could actually walk on the ground. Yeah. I wouldn't walk on the ground. This time the Lord said, no, go. You go walk on that ground and take back that territory for the kingdom of God and clean it out. And so we went up there, and we saw the grates, and we just started praying. And I mean, we were praying by all the different buildings that God told us to walk onto. We were praying every single place that we could think of that he told us. I mean, he was just like, go here, go here. One of them was the Supreme Court. And seeing some of the holes they had and the children and how it is gross symbolism. In our Supreme Court, on the steps, little children, I was so grossed out. I just started crying. We started literally just circled the poles, and we just started praying. And I told the Lord, I said, it's so hard to be here. It's so hard to feel the darkness that is here. And he said, it's time to take back this territory. It's time to take it back because there has been so much, how God was telling us, sacrifices that have been in underground, sacrifices in a lot of these buildings and a lot of these places that was given over. Like you said, they're Satanists, they're Luciferians. They worship Lucifer. And how they worship him, and one of the forms they worship him is by sacrificing. They sacrifice children. That's one of the big things they like to do. And so it's sick. It's sick and demonic. And a lot of DC itself is that way. And the one building that I did not feel that in was the Lincoln Memorial.
Yep. Agreed.
I felt such peace and the presence of God there. I did not feel like I did anywhere else.
Yeah, it's right in front of our face. A couple of the Supreme Court justices are going to have some child scandals coming up pretty soon as well once this gets exposed. We go back to Elon Musk yesterday with the 23 senators that you were talking about, just like parrots. They're just all the same thing. So there was a script to that. They all did it at the same time. Elon Musk offered a free Tesla truck to whoever gives him the information and who orchestrated that. So there's people working on it right now. They want a Tesla truck. Here you go, Elon, give me my truck. And now you're going to find out who did it.
All right. Yeah, and one of the things that God said, you said that you called them parrots. One of the things that God said, they were going to turn on each other and sing like canaries.
Yep.
So they are, because they're trying to save themselves. And so one of the things that he said, even this morning, I want to read this. I got to find which one this. Oh, yeah, it's this one right here. He said in the very beginning of this is part that goes along with what you were just saying. For I, the Lord, is saying, I'm telling you, my children, your enemies are being forced to forfeit their alliance to one another out of desperation to save themselves. Many are giving up secrets, proof needed to completely dismantle the intelligence community and the power it had to keep the establishment functioning and protected so it could continue to grow and to have more control over the nations. So one of the things he said, they have to forfeit their alliance. He also said that they are in complete disarray and they're in collapse. They are turning on each other because they can see the forest for the trees. They can see that they're coming to an end. They're going to try a couple more things that are very desperate. They're going to be very, very bad to stop President Trump and to stop Elon, to stop Doge, to stop this country from moving forward without them. They're going to try something against this country. They're not done trying these things. They're not done trying attacks against this country. They still have people that are embedded here. They still have their terrorist regimes, their, whatever you want to call them, their terrorist cells that are here. They still have their militia, their foreign militia that are here. So again, I'm glad that President Trump is in, but there's still so many things that, again, only God can take care of. It can only be God that dismantles this. And the way he's got to do it, how fast he has to do it, can only be done by God. And I do believe, because President Trump has been listening and he is leaning more toward God, you can see that than he ever has before. He is a different president than he was his first term. There is going to be a lot that's going to turn around. And something that I gave out this morning regarding President Trump, God gave me the scriptures of 1 Samuel 17, 45 verses 47. And now David took control over Goliath and said, today is the day that Lord's going to deliver you into my hands. What is Trump? Chris brought this up to me during my live show. President Trump is God's David.
Right. Yeah.
And he is 45 through 47. He is the 45th through the 47th president. But David, when he proclaimed the destruction of Goliath, which also was the destruction of Philistines, it was 1 Samuel 17, 45 through verses 47. And so I think that was very profound. I think that was a great revelation. If President Trump just knew certain things and certain keys that God is using, like you said, numbers are very important even to God. I don't think that's a coincidence at all that he calls him as David. And then, of course, it is in 1 Samuel 17, 45 and through 47.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Destroys Goliath.
And so that goes also, you said the Philistines. We're talking in the break, the Philistines, Hamas, the Gaza Strip is one area they didn't conquer. And General McInerney dropped the bombshell yesterday. I said that he talked about oil and gas in Gaza. I was told that from an Israeli general about 6 months ago, and he confirmed it yesterday. So lots of things changing in the world, that's for sure.
Yeah, and remember, it's scriptural, because we just talked about that too in the break. That's Ezekiel 38, where God is going to put a hook in their jaw and drive them down. Well, what's the best way to drive them down? Money, gas, power. Like, you have to think about all the things. They're so greedy. They don't care. That's one of the things that I knew something was going to be inside. I didn't know if it was going to be gold. I didn't know if it was going to be like, diamond mine, or if it was going to be gas or what. I knew there was going to be something there that God was using, because I've never forgotten the war of Gog and Magog in Ezekiel 38, and how God said he was bringing them down there by hook in the jaw. And again, when he said that prophecy this morning, he told me, he gave that out to me, and he said, I am reeling reeling in the big fish. So the big fish are the architects. Those are the ones that have to come down as well. You can't just have you can't just have the minions and the puppets. You gotta have the big heads. You gotta have the big fish. You gotta have the ones that are controlling the entire system, because that's the only way you can clean house and get rid of it.
General Flynn said the exact same thing, I think this week or last week or within the last couple of days. He said, George Soros is a puppet. Barack Obama is a puppet. You got to get to the puppet master, and we don't know who the puppet masters are. We do. One of the generals shared with me, but most people have never heard of these people. They think Obama's orchestrating this and Soros is orchestrating. They're not. They're just puppets to the big ones behind. You got to get to the big ones to cut off the flow. And that's going to happen. I was watching Chuck Schumer in that President Trump speech. I have never seen his demeanor so timid as he was yesterday. He was sitting by himself, one person next to him. He wasn't his normal jovial self going from people to people. He just sat there like he was cooked in the squat.
Okay, hold on. I got to get that prophecy, because the Lord just gave one out about Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, because Nancy Pelosi, she looked petrified too. I saw her demeanor. I saw a tiny little bit of her again, because I said I was in bed. I was asleep before that. But I want to show you this, because it talked about Chuck Schumer and how he was going to fall. And one of the things, and he also said, and because I have tons of prophecies up right now, he also said that he was going, Mitch McConnell was not going to be able to finish his term. I do know that one. Let's see here. So here's Adam Schiff. So I think those guys were above it. Here we go. All right. Chuck Schumer, as he continues to slip mentally, you will see him slip and fall physically, signaling his fall politically. So start watching that. He's going to start falling. Nancy Pelosi will slip up and do something that that will give herself more away on who she truly is, and you will see her fall politically. That's more than just one thing. She's not just showing that she's evil. Nancy Pelosi is another, from what the Lord was showing me, she's another Biden. The Biden. But anyway, so Mitch McConnell will not finish out his term like he thinks he will. More of the old guard will begin to fall in massive ways, and they will not be able to contain their composure like they once used to. So they used to be able to contain their composure. I think Chuck Schumer knows his days are coming to an end. He doesn't know how to handle it, and he's freaking out. I love the fact that President Trump called out Elizabeth Warren, apparently. And this prophecy says Elizabeth Warren is about to be exposed in a major way that will begin her removal. And that was given out the other day before President Trump actually brought her out. And so I think we just saw the beginning of her removal was by him calling her out. I don't know exactly what he said. I just saw it in the headline. I started laughing because God just talked about it. And then, of course, Adam Schiff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, he did catch her flat-footed. She kind of didn't know what to say, and then got her bearings back and was kind of like, trying to stay strong, but he called her out.
I love it. They are petrified because they know. That's the reason why they went to the, depths of trying to kill him. The lengths, to try to kill him was because they knew if he ever got back in, they'd be in trouble. And you got to think, he's been planning this for the last 4 years. I think started before in his last term, and he knew he was going to have to step aside. He knew he was going to lose that election, and he won, but you know what I mean. He knew he was going to have to forfeit it and move on. God did it to protect him and to strengthen him, but God also did it to show him more in that time than he would have been able to show him if he was president.
Exactly.
So he had to be set aside in order for God to show him a bigger picture of who was really with him, who was not with him, and how deep and dark and nasty this system really is. And so he couldn't have done that if he was president. And we are so much better off. Much better. And a lot of people are already talking about 2028, and they're already talking about JD Vance. And hold on, don't go that far ahead. God is going to restore 2020, and that I think is going to be a game changer to the next election. So,
yeah, just think about that. God's plan was brilliant because with the Trump 8 years would have been over now, and the best thing the deep state could have done was let him win, which he legitimately won in 2020. They would have got through it. But now you just opened up. More people are aware, and now he's coming back for the hammer. Now it's hammer time.
And he has more approval and more people like him than any other time in his previous presidency by a lot. It's not even like just little numbers. It's huge numbers. They can't hide. Like you said, they overplayed their hand. They should have allowed it.
Yep.
Satan always overplays his hand. And so will all of his minions. So will everybody with him. They're erratic when they're panicking. They're in fear. Because even God said in the scriptures, the wicked will have no peace. If they have no peace, they're full of fear. And if they're full of fear, they're making mistakes. They're doing things that actually are worse for themselves than it would have been if they would have originally let it happen. So we are so much better off. And when we thought was the worst case scenario that happened to us in 2020, it was actually the best thing that could have happened to us. We just didn't see it at the time.
That's right. And people like Barack Hussein Obama, they're excited. They're scared to death. You know, a couple weeks ago, they saw that his birth certificate was a fraud. So that's now coming out.
Thực lực vô biên, có người này tọa chấn thì chúng ta an toàn hơn rất nhiều. Lục Nguyên ở bên cạnh nghe, tự nhiên cũng theo sau những người của huyết kiếm môn này đi đến huyết khố động. Nơi đó có rất nhiều bảo bối, rất nhanh đã đi đến cổng lớn bên ngoài. Chương 358, huyết khố động, đó là một cửa lớn hình tròn màu huyết, trên đó khắc đầy cấm pháp này e rằng nhiều bằng vạn trượng, so với huyết võ động còn khó vượt qua hơn nhiều, mơ hồ có hồng sắc huyết hồng tán tràn ra. Lục Nguyên đi theo sau những trưởng lão của huyết kiếm môn, đi vào trong huyết khố động. Vốn việc đi vào huyết khố động còn có kiểm tra, nhưng vì Lục Nguyên đi theo những trưởng lão của huyết kiếm môn, còn nói mấy câu làm cho người giữ cử tưởng rằng Lục Nguyên cũng là người cùng với đám người này. Còn những người này thì cũng tưởng Lục Nguyên là người của huyết kiếm môn, bởi vì huyết kiếm môn người nhiều vô kể, không quen biết nhau cũng là chuyện bình thường. Cứ như vậy hắn đã vào được trong huyết khố động, phát hiện động này chia làm hai động trong và ngoài. Cửa lớn của động trong đóng chặt, cấm pháp trên cửa thì nhiều vô kể, còn động ngoài thì rất rộng lớn, phải bằng mấy quảng trường. Trên vách tường thì đều là huyết hồng sắc mà chủ môn nhân của huyết kiếm môn lưu lại. Dò xét tình hình bên trong xong, Lục Nguyên nhìn lại, đúng là có nhiều trưởng lão, đệ tử của huyết kiếm môn pháp lực yếu. Hiện tại tránh nạn ở đây còn có một người này dung mạo không nhìn rõ lắm, không phải là mắt của Lục Nguyên không tốt mà người này như thể là ảo mộng vậy. Căn bản là khiến người ta không thể nhìn rõ được, không biết dung nhan của y như thế nào, thậm chí là nam hay nữ cũng không biết. Nghe người bên cạnh nhỏ giọng bàn tán, Lục Nguyên biết được người này có lẽ là huyết huyễn kiếm tiên Cửu Thiên, một trong 7 người con của huyết kiếm. Có huyết huyễn kiếm tiên ngồi đó, biết rõ người này có pháp lực trường sinh thất trọng, cho nên Lục Nguyên không dám làm bừa. Chênh lệch là chênh lệch, nếu như hắn làm bừa mà bị huyết huyễn kiếm tiên tru sát thì là chuyện hết sức bình thường. Các vị yên tĩnh, đừng hoảng hốt, Huyết Sơn Tiên môn căn bản là đang diễn hài kịch mà thôi. Huyết huyễn kiếm tiên bây giờ mới lên tiếng, giọng nói của y có chút bồng bềnh, mù mịt. Một lúc sau, bên ngoài đánh nhau càng lúc càng kịch liệt, những tiếng ầm ầm liên tiếp vang lên. Ở trong động rồi mà vẫn cảm thấy chấn động. Mà lúc này, một trưởng lão trường sinh nhát trọng xông vào nói, Cừu sư huynh, lão tổ gọi huynh đi tham chiến. À, vậy sao? Huyết huyễn tiên Cừu Thiên gật đầu, xem ra trận chiến càng ngày càng kịch liệt rồi. Ngay cả huyết huyễn kiếm tiên vốn tọa chấn huyết khố động cũng phải xuất động. Cừu Thiên mã thân mình khẽ động đã biến mất khỏi chỗ ngồi rồi, xem ra là đi chiến đấu rồi. Lục Nguyên bỗng có tinh thần lên, lúc vị huyết huyễn kiếm tiên này ngồi đây mình không dám động thủ. Hiện tại y đã đi rồi thì đồng nghĩa với việc cơ hội của mình đã đến. Hiện tại, vấn đề mấu chốt chính là việc cấm chế của động trong. Sự cấm chế ở đó e rằng mình không thể phá được. Có lẽ cũng là vận khí. Lúc này bỗng rằng một tiếng nổ vang lên, Trên mặt cấm chế của cửa lớn động trong xuất hiện một đường dài, là do huyết kiếm lão tổ và Tuyết Sơn lão tổ đánh nhau tạo thành. Hai nhân vật đại đạo cảnh đối đầu, cấm chế không bị vỡ tan mới đúng. Nhưng huyết kiếm môn không chỉ có riêng một mình huyết kiếm lão tổ là đại đạo cảnh. Mỗi một môn phái đều che giấu một vài nhân vật, không thể đem toàn bộ thực lực của mình bày ra ngoài được. Như Hoa Sơn có một trưởng lão đoàn, nhân vật đời thứ 7 thứ 8, cơ bản đều nằm trong trưởng lão đoàn. Đương nhiên, Tuyết Sơn tiên môn cũng không phải chó một đại đạo cảnh. Rất nhiều đại đạo cảnh đang ở đó sống mái với nhau. Vô cùng kịch liệt, mấy đường pháp lực của đại đạo cảnh đánh ra, khiến cho cấm chế của huyết khố động bị nứt ra. Phần đông người của huyết kiếm môn cũng đang thảo luận chiến sự bên ngoài, lần này sẽ đánh như thế nào. Kết quả trong động trong đột nhiên nứt ra, bỗng chốc ai nấy trong mắt đều lộ ra vẻ tham lam. Huyết kiếm môn vốn là tà ma ngoại đạo, độ trung thành của họ cũng không cao. Động trong có bao nhiêu là bảo bối như vậy, đương nhiên là ai cũng thèm muốn. Nhưng ánh mắt thèm muốn là một chuyện, còn việc xông lên để cướp lấy lại là chuyện khác. Chỉ cần huyết kiếm môn lần này chưa bị hủy diệt thì đến lúc đó ai nấy đều bị chết mà không có chỗ chôn. Cho nên, tuy lộ ra ánh mắt đầy thèm khát, nhưng chẳng ai dám động vào cả. Lục Nguyên thầm nghĩ trong lòng, quả nhiên là trời cũng giúp ta rồi, vận khí đã đến thì muốn cản cũng chẳng được. Thật sự là quá may mắn, những người khác của huyết kiếm môn không dám vào trong động để cướp bảo bối. Nhưng mình không phải là người của huyết kiếm môn, hơn nữa bản tính của Lục Nguyên là cả gan làm loạn. Hiện tại làm sao lại không xông lên cơ chứ? Lục Nguyên liền muốn xông lên, Lục Nguyên liền xông vào, người đó là phạm nhân của Thiên Lao. Đột nhiên có một giọng nói sắc nhọn vang lên, thì ra là người trong số đến huyết khố động để tránh nạn. Người này lúc đó cũng là hiểm lại càng hiểm, mệnh rất lớn, không chết trong tay những người thoát trong Thiên Lao ra, cho nên đã đến huyết khố động để lánh nạn. Ở trong huyết khố động tránh nạn có rất nhiều người, y bắt đầu không chú ý đến Lục Nguyên, tuy nhiên thỉnh thoảng y đột nhiên nhìn một cái, phát hiện Lục Nguyên, tất nhiên là kêu lên. Sau khi y kêu lên như vậy, tất cả đều nhìn về phía Lục Nguyên. Lục Nguyên bật cười lớn, đúng vậy, ta không phải là người của huyết kiếm môn tà ma ngoại đạo. Cái này giống như chọc vào tổ ong vò vẽ rồi, dám bảo bọn ta là tà ma ngoại đạo ư? Nghe khẩu khí này xem ra là người của chính đạo tiên môn rồi. Ha ha, người của chính đạo tiên môn mà dám xông vào đại bản doanh của huyết kiếm môn tà ma ngoại đạo chúng ta sao? Hắn tự đi tìm đến cái chết đó, hắn đúng là muốn chết thật rồi, còn trẻ như vậy mà đã muốn chết rồi ư? Thật là đáng tiếc, chúng ta phải giết hắn. Vội giết làm gì, người của chính đạo tiên môn chán sống như vậy, chúng ta phải tra tấn từ từ. Chưa gì đã giết thì còn ra cái gì nữa. Đúng vậy, này, lần này cứ để tôi động thủ cho. Người của huyết kiếm môn đều nhao nhao cười quái dị, trên mặt tỏ ra vô cùng ngạc nhiên, người thì nhe răng cười, người thì nhếch mép cười. Đám người của huyết kiếm môn này quả thật rất tự tin, đối phó với một chính đạo môn nhân trẻ tuổi như vậy. Trong khi người của huyết kiếm môn lại nhiều như vậy, hơn nữa, trong đó còn có mấy vị tu tiên giả tứ trọng, ngũ trọng trường sinh, giết hắn đi. Một tiếng này vang lên, mấy chục đường huyết quang đánh về phía Lục Nguyên. Những huyết kiếm này đều có sát pháp riêng, chiêu thức riêng, một chiêu huyết vũ luân hồi, huyết hoa như đua nhau nhảy múa, một thức triển khai đi ra, trong tầm mắt của người sẽ đầy huyết quang, tất cả những thứ khác dường như thấy mà không thấy. Sau đó lại trúng chiêu, một thức huyết kiếm vô ảnh, kiếm hóa thành hư không, khiến người ta không thể nào tìm được. Sau đó công kích lại đối thủ rất dễ bị trúng kiếm. Một chiêu huyết ảnh hư ảo chính là lợi dụng đủ loại thủ đoạn, hóa một thanh kiếm thành 3 thanh kiếm đồng thời công kích, mà trong đó chỉ có một thanh là thật, còn 2 thanh còn lại đều là hư ảo. Tuy nhiên trong nháy mắt ta phải đoán được, nếu không thì chỉ một chiêu là sẽ bị thất bại ngay. Chương 359, huyết khố động. Một thức huyết hải đồng nguyên, từ dưới lên trên, vừa ra tay là băng hàn cực độ, làm chậm tốc độ của người khác. Một thức huyết ma giáng sinh, lại sinh ra vô vàn huyết ma trong lòng người khác. Những chiêu thức này không phải là chiêu thức trong cổ ma thần huyết kiếm bổ thiên pháp, nhưng cũng là tuyệt kỹ độc môn mà huyết kiếm lão tổ sáng tạo ra. Những tu tiên giả có số trường sinh lớn khi thi triển ra. Trong khoảng thời gian ngắn huyết khí cuồn cuộn bốc lên, huyết sắc mê loạn nhân tâm, bọn họ muốn Lục Nguyên chết, một người của chính đạo tiên môn mà lại dám xông vào đại bản doanh của huyết kiếm môn tà ma ngoại đạo. Chết đi, huyết quang đã đạt tới một trạng thái nhất định, mà sát ý và tức giận trong lòng những kẻ tà ma ngoại đạo này cũng đã lên tới trạng thái cao nhất. Khí thế mạnh nhất rồi sao? Được lắm, đây là thời điểm ra tay. Lục Nguyên ấn tay lên trên chuôi kiếm. Trong thời khắc mà khí thế của những người này trở nên mạnh nhất thì Lục Nguyên đã xuất kiếm. Hắn xuất liên tục 5 kiếm, kiếm quang ngũ sắc trên thanh dưỡng ngô kiếm của Lục Nguyên lóe lên. Kiếm quang ngũ sắc gần như hợp thành một vòng tuần hoàn hoàn mỹ. 5 đạo kiếm ý kim, mộc, thủy, hỏa, thổ ngùn ngụt bốc lên, nhằm thẳng hướng đối phương mà tấn công. Cho dù huyết vũ luân hồi, huyết kiếm vô ảnh, huyết ảnh hư huyễn hay huyết hải đống nguyên thì đều nằm trong ngũ hành luân hồi kiếm đạo. Phá cho ta! Thanh trường kiếm trong tay Lục Nguyên đi tới đi lui, ngũ hành kiếm ý trở nên mãnh liệt. Đối với những chiêu thức kỳ diệu hơn nữa, tuyệt học mạnh hơn nữa cũng ở trong 5 đạo kiếm ý mà bị nuốt mất. Lục Nguyên cũng biết, kiếm thuật hiện tại của mình còn có tiến cảnh không gian rất lớn. Ví dụ như, mình bây giờ muốn xuất liên tục 5 kiếm, nếu như có thể đem nhiều kiếm ý dung hợp thành một, thì căn bản không cần phải dùng đến 5 kiếm liên tục. Chỉ cần một kiếm là có thể phát huy 5 đạo kiếm ý rồi. Ngoài ra, nếu mình luyện thành Ngũ Hoàng Luân Hồi kiếm đạo, thì còn trở nên đáng sợ hơn bây giờ nhiều. Hơn nữa, thế gian này vẫn có kiếm thuật cung cấp với Ngũ Đế Ngũ Hoàng Luân Hồi kiếm đạo rất nhiều tư tưởng, đều đã đi sâu vào bộ não, đánh bại, tất cả đều đánh bại. Đúng vậy, Lục Nguyên thật ra cũng không dùng quá nhiều tâm tư ở phía trên, nhưng với thực lực của hắn bây giờ, tuyệt đối vượt qua đám người trước mặt này. Hơn nữa Ngũ Hành Luân Hồi kiếm đạo trở nên bá đạo đến kinh người, cho nên rất dễ dàng đánh bại đối thủ. Chiêu kiếm của bọn họ đều bị phá vỡ, tên nào tên nấy đều há hốc mồm miệng. Bọn họ không ngờ rằng nhiều người như vậy cùng ra tay với một hậu bối của chính đạo tiên môn, kết quả lại trở nên thảm hại như vậy. Hắn chỉ xuất ra vài kiếm là có thể làm cho phía mình trở thành những kẻ bại trận. Đây quả là khó tin. Bọn họ đều nói không thành lời rồi. Tên hậu bối của chính đạo tiên môn này rốt cuộc là ai? Đều đánh bại rồi sao? Thật ra một kích này chỉ là đánh bại đại bộ phận cường giả ở động ngoài của huyết cố động. Những người có trường sinh nhị trọng, tam trọng, tứ trọng đều đã bị đánh bại, chỉ còn lại những kẻ yếu hơn, tự nhiên không dám động thủ, mà chỉ trừng mắt líu lưỡi nhìn về phía Lục Nguyên. Lục Nguyên cũng không làm gì bọn họ, mà lập tức xông vào động trong của huyết khố động, nơi cất giấu không biết bao nhiêu bảo bối. Ngự kiếm xuyên qua khe hở mà mấy vị đại đạo cảnh giao thủ tạo thành. Vừa vào đến động trong, mới phát hiện ra mình đã rơi vào biển máu, như thể đó là một thế giới hàn băng mà tanh mùi máu vậy. Toàn thân đều bị rơi vào trong đó, còn hàn băng cổ quái ở xung quanh thì đã xâm nhập vào bên trong người mình. Nếu như mình chưa tới trường sinh kỳ, e rằng hiện tại sẽ bị tà khí nhập vào cơ thể, tẩu hỏa nhập ma, mãi mãi bị chôn thân ở đó mà khó có thể thoát ra được. Lục Nguyên âm thầm vận Vân Long thập biến, chính đạo công pháp tự sẽ có tác dụng tránh tà. Còn Dưỡng Ngô kiếm cũng khẽ kêu, trên thân kiếm lóe lên một chuỗi bạch quang. Dưỡng Ngô kiếm vẫn là một thanh kiếm của chính khí. Lục Nguyên đem huyết sắc chống cự bên ngoài, mới có thời gian để xem đây rốt cuộc là cái gì. Từng mảnh thấm đầy mùi tanh của máu tươi, lạnh giá vô cùng, lại mềm mềm nhũn nhũn. Đây là cái gì nhỉ? Chẳng lẽ đây là huyết vân sao? Lấy vân hệ làm thí dụ, lai lịch của vân hệ linh thú trước kia cũng từng nói qua rồi, chính là mây trắng vô biên tích tụ lại một chỗ. Toàn văn tự đã trải qua sự bồi luyện của linh khí thiên địa và sự bồi luyện của ngàn năm mới sinh ra linh thú, mà linh thú cấp càng cao thì càng cần thời gian lâu. Giống như vân kình thì việc cần đến cả vạn năm tuyệt đối không phải là giả. Mà bản thân những mây trắng mấy trăm năm kia, cho dù chưa sinh ra linh thú, nhưng bản thân nó cũng có linh khí dày đặc, có thể dùng để tu hành. Trên đỉnh Bắc Phong có mây trắng vô cùng, tuy nhiên Bắc Phong có rất nhiều người luyện tâm pháp của